Three high school girls at risk of failing their final exams discover a videotape called Ghost Hide and Seek, where the winner is guaranteed a perfect exam result. They enlist the help of a second-year girl who runs a religious club, and they play the game. But during the game, they break the rules. Desperate to try and survive the night, they must work out a way to stop the ghost who's trying to hunt them, using a variety of Korean and Western horror movie cliches. You know, it's been a long time since I have enjoyed a Korean horror movie, and out of all movies, it had to be a comedy horror that I've enjoyed the most. The last decade or so of Korean horror cinema has been far too overproduced and slick for my liking, and unlike what's been coming out of Hollywood over the last couple of years, it's been completely devoid of any creativity. This movie won't change too many people's minds if that's an opinion that you also share. This is a comedy first and foremost, and it makes no secret of that fact. In fact, you could even go one step further and describe this as some kind of almost parody style film of both Korean and Western horror movies. The characters, specifically the main girl who wants to be a movie director, never shies away from calling out all of the cliches that occur in this film. Now, the basis of this movie appears to be the Whispering Corridors series, although my knowledge of Korean horror and that movie series are very, very limited. They certainly share the same initial idea, that is an all-girls school and ghosts, but scratch away the surface and you'll bound to find references to other films, such as the obvious one being The Ring from Japan, but there's also things like Phone, Bunshin Saba, also known as a Ouija board, and plenty of other Korean horror movies. It's the characters that make this movie a lot of fun. Now, I've already mentioned that there is a girl who's desperate to be a movie director who calls out all of the horror movie cliches in the film. What we've also got is a camera woman who faints every time she gets frightened. There's a third girl in the group who's desperate to be an influencer, and she's given the task of naming the kind of voodoo spirit doll that they have to use to call the spirit in the movie. And at the end of the film, the ghost calls her out and has some pretty selective feedback for the name that she gives them. It's that kind of humor that's throughout the movie. But the most interesting of all is the fourth girl of the film. She's the religious mercenary, as she's referred to in the movie, and she prefers to speak in Japanese because she has a love of all things otaku. The movie's clearly based around who she represents and is a good example of why you should never judge a book by its cover. And I also feel it's the same when talking about this movie. Don't judge this movie by the title and its poster. And then there's the ghost, who is a very typical Asian horror movie ghost. It's a grey-skinned girl with a long white flowing dress and long black hair. It's a cliche that's been made very popular by Sadako from the Ring series, but in reality, it's rather a generic representation of ghosts in Asian cinema. And in fact, you'll find that same kind of representation in like Indonesian and Philippine cinema as well. Now, the ghost actually has one of my favorite scenes from the movie, and it's kind of one of those moments where the actual filmmaker of the movie kind of peels back the fourth wall and shows the ghost setting up a trap for the girls, only to be sprung by the girls while she's doing it. It's that kind of humor that's littered all throughout the movie, and I admit that I laughed out loud more times than I dare to remember. And thus, I think if you enjoyed the film The Odd Family: Zombie for Sale, which was one of my favorite Korean comedy horrors, in fact, one of my favorite comedy horrors of all times, I think if you have an interest in Korean horror cinema and you enjoy comedy horrors, then I think this movie will be right down your alley. And thankfully for Korean cinema, which is very unusual, there are no zombies in this movie at all. So using my patent pending ghost rating, which stands for great horror or stupid trash, I give this 3 ghosts out of 5. It genuinely has funny moments in the film. There are a great cast of characters, and the actual humor in this movie makes it enjoyable to watch. And you keep waiting to see what other cliches they want to throw into this film. And if you do find it and enjoy it and watch it, you'll be interested to know that there is a sequel coming out as well, sometime 2025. Anyway, I'm the Artie Dans. You are watching Shockmania. Thank you to a friend who supplied the movie and the subtitles so I could enjoy it. I really did enjoy it, even though you told me that you didn't like it. But that's the good thing about cinema. We all have different opinions. Have you seen this movie though? I'd be keen to know what you think in the comments section below. Press thumbs up, do the subscribe jazz, all that other stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe to Shockmania. I will catch you next time.